Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, fellas. Good way for me on the West Coast to start my day talking about Shohei.
Yeah, we appreciate you getting up early to do that. And there are so many places to start with this guy. And I guess I'll jump in with this. You watched him as an opposing manager for a number of years. You got him on your side now. I know you had a high opinion of him managing against him. What's changed in how you view Shohei now that you know him as well as you do and that you've had him on your side for 2 years?
I think the thing that's changed is there's obviously with time you get to know a person more intimately. I think that I've learned his humor. I've learned his certainly we've seen the humility from the other side. But I think that his generosity across the board, there's a crazy competitiveness to win and not just to be a great player. He wants to win. And then on the last thing I'll say is on the day-to-day to see the discipline and how we can kind of prepare as he went through rehab and then also to prepare for a season or each day is pretty impressive.
Hey, Dave, he's so unique, and there's so many different stories and narratives about him, and one of them is Shohei decides what Shohei wants to do. And there's some truth to that. Every player has to let you know how they feel. How do you guys manage that as a group with you, Stan, the whole group on down, Andrew, you name it, how you manage Shohei and how you handle him, and what's those conversations like with him?
I think the first thing it starts, HR, is the contract. You know, his whole thing with Stan and Mark Walter was basically an ownership group was I'll defer money and I just want to be ensured that the roster is going to continue to be very competitive to win a championship every year. And that's the word that Mark, the agreement that they had. And I think that's sort of where it started initially. And then outside of that, I think it's more of kind of, every player wants to feel comfortable. But if we're trying to win, honestly, Shohei has been my easiest player to manage. He's not really my way or the highway type guy. So for me, honestly, HR, there's been no demands for me that he's put on me or the organization. I think certainly coming back from the elbow injury, kind of the rehab on the plan, which is very kind of methodical and slow, maybe slower than his liking. He still bought into that and understood the bigger picture. So I do think that once he was ready at the end of the year and pitched in the World Series and throughout the postseason, I think that trust has continued to build. But yeah, right there, he didn't like me taking him out of the game, but still respectful. And, I don't know. You know what? I think that he does is because every minute of the day is calculated for him. So it's really, he doesn't have really time to poke holes in what the organization isn't or isn't doing. He just wants to win.
I don't think it's hyperbole, Doc, to say that we're watching and you're managing the greatest player to ever put on a uniform.
Ever.
You could make that case, right? It's crazy. So as such, I would imagine one of the challenges that you and the organization are faced with is the balance between preserving him and keeping enough bubble wrap on him and putting too much bubble wrap on him. After all, we need this guy for the next decade in Dodger blue.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that, you've got to build that trust, Matty. And I think that it's not easy because as a player, they always feel that they can do more. They should do more. But I think that Shohei is very cognizant of his short-term performance, but also long-term legacy. And so appreciating that, pushing him in April, May, or June isn't worth the squeeze. And I think that, his agent, Nez, is obviously in touch with him, but our training staff, the doctors, Andrew, Brandon Gomes, myself, Mark Pryor, the hitting guys manage his workload. All that kind of collection of voices kind of come to a decision. So I do think that the North Star, the guiding light is being good now, certainly to help us win, but also we want to preserve his career for the next 10 years.
I mean, it's almost like a mythical character. It's unbelievable what this guy can do.
It is, and I think that what you guys said is I'm as old school as anybody, but I do feel that he is the best player of all time to put on a baseball uniform, and I don't need to see another 5 years to validate what my eyes are, right? And so I get the longevity piece, what people want to see, but I think we've all seen enough.
Yeah. I mean, Dave, one game, he throws 100 miles an hour, strikes out 2 hitters to end it with 100-mile-an-hour pitches, and then hits the ball out of the ballpark. I mean, out of the stadium.
Sick.
So that's one of the greatest moments that I've seen with Shohei through the number of years. What moments do you have that stand out immediately with you?
Yeah, but I think the thing is, just to add on that, Harold, I think that it's 100, but it's also located. It's not to the backstop. And it's also a guy that's not hitting 190 and hitting a ball at the ballpark, right? So you're getting a guy that's the talent that we all love, but the skill set to be very finite is a different deal. Yeah, I mean, you know, what he did in Miami for the 50 homers, going backside for the homer, where Skip Schumacher, I love him that he was going to go after him and not put him on base in a game that didn't matter for the Marlins at that point in time. You know, the 6 innings or whatever it was, and then the 10 punch, and then the 3 or 4 homers, whatever it was, in the closing game, clinching game against the Brewers was just ridiculous. And I think at that point in time, I think he got a little tired of hearing the noise of how he wasn't performing in the postseason. So you don't see many guys win a CS MVP for one game performance. And but what was great though about that is he's so smart that he understands that CS trophy was supplanted right in the middle of our clubhouse that next day. So that's just who he is. But yeah, like the bobblehead days when everyone goes to the bobblehead or ballpark to see him do something special and he delivers. So honestly, guys, it just doesn't. I could go on and on about, you know, in Arizona, it was 5 innings domination, and he looks at me calmly and says, "Hey, if you want, I can go another inning. I'm just saving a little bit more." And I'm like, "No, Show, we're good. The 5-inning governor." You know, take your
I got to think when he saw Yamamoto go, "Give me the ball," after throwing 9 innings, Shohei was probably saying, "Give me the ball" as well.
By the way, we're gonna have that game 4 of the NLCS against the Brewers on our air coming up later on today. Last question for you, Doc. We've just spent the last 10 or so minutes laying out the case as to why everybody, the 3 of us included, are so impressed with Shohei Ohtani. Do you have any insight as to who he's impressed by? Like, when he met Sandy Koufax for the first time, was it a franchise legend, a big league legend, somebody that he idolized in Japan? Who is the greatest player in the world awestruck by?
You know what? I think he is. I think he's awestruck by Judge. I think he is awestruck. Not awestruck. I think he is. I think Freddie Freeman is his guy, and I say that because the way Freddie posts every day, and I think that Freddie's created a culture in our, and I think that Shohei's a guy that wants to post, and you know, after 18 innings, getting on base 9 times, I gave him an out to not start the next day. He wasn't ever going to take it. He plays every game. So I think that Freddie Freeman is the guy. And I think that he's got the respect of, you know, Shohei, of Sandy, obviously. He's known Sadahara O, who's a mutual friend of both of ours. So I think that he respects that. But I think the day-to-day, it's Freddie Freeman. And my last thing before I leave is watching Shohei, and there was that meme or whatever, that picture of him getting water for the guys when they were on defense in the dugout, filling up the cups. And then after Yamamoto in game 4 or game 3 is lose, after we win that game on the walk-off, he bolts to left field with Roki to pick up Yamamoto for what he potentially could have done. Those are things that, for me, you guys know, when you get your best player that has that type of humility and servant leadership, my job is easy.
And that's good stuff.
Talk about leadership and servant humility. You know, you gave us such a professional look, Dave, but we know the clown in you. When I saw you fall running the bases at the World Series, you know we're showing this.
Oh, come
You're
on.
racing Kim.
You got to do
and
that.
Dave, what happened?
Sniper.
What happened to the stolen base king?
Dude, so I've always had a good first step, and it was there. And you'll appreciate this, HR. My initial thought was to get a lead and then cut across, because I had the bet with Haesong, and I learned it from Cecil Fielder. I was going to go first to third across the diamond, and not first to third, first, second, third, right? So we had a $100 bet. And I wanted levity with the guys, with the workout. So Haesong kept telling me to get a bigger lead because he was going to beat me, and it messed up my initial thought. But once I tried to cut the corner, my legs just gave out, my right hamstring seized, and then I just went straight face
What player wore you out the most?
Oh my God, Miggy Rowe. Miggy Rowe, probably. Everyone was laughing. Freddie dapped me up. Mookie wasn't there to see it, which is good, but everyone was dying laughing. It wasn't executed exactly the way I wanted to, but we got the job done. And I did pay Haesong his $100.
You did. And last thing on that, I know your son wore you out. He had to.
Oh, dude. And I'm not going to revisit some of my things that I want to take back that I've done during Major League games. And this certainly was a workout day. So my daughter, my son, it's just, they're just like, Dad, this is just, my daughter, I think, said, I'm dead, and said, bye. The young thing is like, bye. And it's just like, they were not happy with me.
I love it.
We appreciate you, man.
Doc, man, thank you for the time.
Thanks for the time, man.
The humble
Great to
leader
see you.
are.
Thanks for the insights into your prized pupil, and we appreciate you, Doc. Way to go, man. Hope to see you soon.
Take care.